It's a big, big honor to have Jim LeBrecht here at our video call. And you were just coming from the Academy Awards. We were really excited here in Germany. Are you disappointed that you didn't win, or do you also think that it was such an honor to be at least nominated? And what emotion is the most important to you?
Well, first off, thank you for having me here, and let me describe myself. I'm a older white guy with curly hair and black square glasses. I've got a white beard and mustache. I have kind of a teal shirt on, and behind me is a red wall with a bunch of posters on it. And I am in Oakland, California, not too far away from San Francisco. Um, Getting this nomination for Crip Camp was remarkable. Um, um, uh, I uh, I co-directed the film with the wonderful filmmaker Nicole Noonan, and we both produced along with my wife, who wanted to work with us and did a great job as a producer, Sarah Boulder. Um, and So we were all, yes, down at the uh, the Oscar Awards, and because of COVID limitations, we were only allowed one guest, but we had with us Judy Human, who, if you've seen Crip Camp or are aware of one of the great disabled civil rights leaders, she was with us and dressed in this incredible outfit. Howard Gertler, our executive producer, was there, and Andrea Levant, who's this wonderful woman who comes out of the disability justice movement here in the States, who's been our impact producer for the film. She was there in this glorious outfit, along with her service dog Goji, and and I have to say that Goji, who was dressed up also, was like the star of our entourage. I mean, everybody wanted to meet her, and we even made a best dress list from the BBC. So it was remarkable. But look, this was the first time that we know of. I'm pretty sure. You had three wheelchair users on the red carpet and a service dog.
It's amazing.
And yeah, and the press has been really wonderful about it. In regards to, we've seen articles from all over the world. And Raul, to answer your question, how was it? How did it feel? I think all of us, you want to win an award like this. It's a
Of
huge
course.
honor, but there have been a lot of awards given to the octopus teacher, and so we thought, well, they may very well win, and so it wasn't a huge surprise to us. And but I have to tell you that Nicole and I, we're really good about all of this. We had won an award a few days before, the Independent Spirit Award from Film Independent, and that was a big honor. That was a surprise to us. And we know that we've accomplished with our film and with Andrea's work a huge impact. We're hearing about this Crip Camp effect in Hollywood, where
Wow.
people seeing that there's this film that's authentic, made with people with disabilities, told from our really through our voice, and that it's attracted. We don't get numbers from Netflix, but it's attracted a large audience, and we've been pushing really, really hard for people to make sure that when they have diversity and inclusion efforts, that they make sure that disability is part of that. And we're seeing people being much more receptive to this message of employment of people with disabilities in Hollywood, and taking meetings and developing shows and films. So we're happy about that.
it was one of the things that I stumbled across the first time when I watched the film, that you had no off speaker. All the disabled people by themselves were, were just showing how they are, and that was something beautiful to see, because often we have these other ways that disabled people get translated in a way, even if it's not necessary. But still, even though you didn't win the Oscar awards, Crip Camp is a huge success. So for me, it's really interesting to know which significance does the film has for disabled people living in America. So do you have a feeling that something changed besides just just people watching the film and maybe have a new sense of something, but did it have real impact in real life?
Yeah, I mean, everything we've kind of heard is anecdotal, what we've been getting back on social media and the like. But Nicole and I set out to try to reframe what disability meant to people with and without disabilities. And we wanted our film to really spark conversations and to create change. And we know that this is happening. We hear from people who say, I feel pride for the first time, that they could see themselves for the first time on the screen. One person had said that I felt knowable for the first time, which really made me tear up. And we're seeing those things. I mean, there's an actress that I know that I talked to, and she has rheumatoid arthritis, and she's not. She says, "I'm not going to cover my hands with my sweater anymore when I audition." You know, I'm. What do we all want? We all want to live a chosen life. We want to live a life in which we don't feel like we're in the closet or have to hide something. And I think that our film, we kind of joke that, gee, if at the end of the film people want to have a beer with Jim, that we would accomplish something. Not that I'm an ogre or anything, but and it's like, yeah, we had a test screening early on for one of our in progress cuts of the film, and this guy told us afterwards that I didn't really know people with disabilities, and after watching you guys were my homies. It was like you were my brothers, and that was that was really, really wonderful.
This camp was nearly 50 years ago. And what really impressed me was a lot of joy and fun and motivation the people who were there had with each others. How can we generate this motivation again for the younger generation of people with disabilities in the United States and Germany or worldwide? Or is it needed, do you think? We need a new motivation, or are we motivated enough?
Well, I mean, I think the thing about Camp Jennad was that it was an environment in which people felt found community. First off, there you are with and we had counselors that had disabilities, and they were incredible role models, despite being long-haired hippies, for the most part. And um and and well, we always need places to have community, and we did a lot of research about what our impact campaign should be for our film. Most documentaries, you don't want to just make a film, but you want to have social media, and you want to have educational materials and such like that to support, your project. And we thought that maybe people would tell us, well, we really should focus on voting rights, and or getting people motivated that way. And the message was loud and clear. Give us an opportunity to have community. So there was people who rallied around the film online. A Facebook group of its own sparked up after we started having our virtual summer camps last year, and in that group, is wonderful. We when we had these summer camps, we invited speakers to come in and talk. We thought maybe we'd have 500 people kind of signed up for these. By the end of the 16 weeks, we had 10,000 people
Oh my God,
signed up from 50 different countries. And it
that's
was
amazing.
just, yeah, it was really, really, really spectacular. So, well, and look, the issues that motivated people back in 1977 here to take over a federal office and not leave until this important civil rights regulations were signed. Those issues are still up here in the United States, and I know that throughout the world. This the ability, the supports from government and society uh, to really help people live independently, to have that chosen life that I'm talking about, and not looking upon us as a medical situation, but as a social situation, as a political civil rights um, issue. It's as important today as it's ever been, and yeah.
But when you remember back at this camp where you have been, um, were you aware of this historical moment you were in, or did it become an historical moment afterwards?
Well, it kind of happened afterwards. Back in 1971, where the film begins. Well, it begins with me being a little boy, but when we
Yeah,
get to the camp in 1971,
the
um,
birth was historical.
yeah, well, it was a miracle. So, uh, well, I wouldn't quite say that. It was a time of great political upheaval, and the anti-Vietnam War movement was happening, and there were a number of different liberation movements, and the civil rights movement for African Americans, um, uh, and gay rights, and so people at the camp, we were talking about our situation. Judy talked about how the fact that in the girls' bunk they would talk about that a lot, and so being at Camp Gennad and meeting Judy really politicized me. She had just prevailed in a lawsuit to get a teaching position, and this is chronicled in the film. She had gotten a teaching license, but they wouldn't give her a position. The New York City school system, but she prevailed, and it was like, oh my gosh, we can fight back. Like we don't have to take whatever crumbs they're giving us. And especially as a 15-year-old, this was like, the whole world's unfair anyway, right? So, to have this, and Judy being such an incredible personality and leader, it was very, very motivating to me and a bunch of other people. Um, we, certainly there have been other groups doing things for the blind or the deaf and such. And but Judy started Disabled in Action in New York, and I attended some meetings when I was a teenager until I went out to college. So, I mean, to answer your question, it was, yeah. I mean, these were the early days, but there are other people who were doing work. But it was remarkable that there was this connection between our camp and this political movement, and I had been working for Nicole as a sound mixer and sound designer on her 3 previous documentaries, and we'd become friends over 15 years, and I loved her work, and I actually pitched her this idea of, Nicole, I think there's a story here about these people going from New York out to Berkeley, California, and I mentioned, this hippie utopia, and that I heard I could smoke pot with the counselors, and that there was some footage that existed, and I remembered that they had given me the camera one day, and she was like, oh my God. And so, but she asked me to direct with her,
Wonderful.
and that was, I mean, that's her, she's she's been able to make films about other communities that feel. Uh, I think I told somebody the other day, when you're finished with one of her films, you feel like you've had dinner with these people. You really get close to who the human beings are, and we came together with an incredible collaboration of trust and listening to each other, and um, and we had a wonderful group of editors working with us. I mean, we were so fortunate. And look, getting Netflix was not, on our radar at the beginning. Having the president and Mrs. Obama come on as executive producers was something that was completely, not. I mean, they hadn't even started their company when we had started, but when when Howard, our executive producer, heard that the Obamas were starting this production company, Higher Ground, and they had a deal with Netflix, he contacted Priya Swaminathan, who's was one of the people, the getting the company up and running. And she said, it's too early. We don't even have an office yet. And a few months later, our sales agent approached her, and she said, okay, I'll look at this trailer that we had. And we had a pretty dynamite sizzle reel or trailer. And she called Nicole and I and said, I don't know what you guys have done, but I can't stop watching this trailer. And she came up from Los Angeles up to our editing room and hung out with us for a day. And, we got to know each other. Did we think we could work together? Look at all this incredible black and white footage. And when she left our editing room, she called us from the parking lot 15 minutes later saying, look, we want to, the president and Mrs. Obama and I, we want to work with you. We want to roll up our sleeves and really be partners with you. And we were just, at that point, you realize you're going to have eyes on your film, and you're going to have incredibly smart people championing.
It's a zeitgeist.
Absolutely. Now, Judy Heumann had worked in the Obama administration in the State Department doing international work. And so she, we were hoping that would catch their attention. So, but it was the whole film. I mean, having a film around civil rights, about on the ground organizing. And people have said, if you don't believe that getting out in the streets can really do something, watch Crip Camp. It's like, watch a group of disabled people demonstrating. What an incredible message to send, that we're savvy people. We're smart. We know how to organize. And by the way, we're sexy people and we're joyous people, and, it was just like, what this message, I think, really just blew open a lot of stereotypes.
Yeah, it's crazy what an impact this film had and still has even here in Germany, because I know that for many people in Germany, we don't have so many role models on media and even in the everyday living. So it's really important not only for disabled people, but especially for them to have such role models to see up to. But what I'm also really interested is, because when we are looking into the political context of the movement back then, and also now the debates we have in America, but especially here in Germany, we are at a point where we still have to fight for example, accessibility as a requirement in our economy or in the everyday lives, because we don't have something like an ADA. We still don't have it in Germany. So my question to you is, for years, America was for us a role model for accessibility rights. Is that still true? Or where are you standing in that debate? Are you thinking that America is a role model towards accessibility? Yeah, how would you describe that?
I think we are. I mean, I know. I mean, now my history from many years ago may not be the most well informed. You knew about other movements happening in certain other places, but I think we are a role model in regards to architectural standards and civil rights protections, and that to elevate people with disabilities to the same stature as other protected groups was an essential, uh, to really provide us with what should have always been. And certainly, I don't take this for granted. I see certain door handles, that make it easier for people with limited use of their hands to be able to open it up. I don't take that for granted. I don't take for granted the hotel room that all of us, the hotel we stayed in was very accessible. And what was remarkable about the Oscars was, for the first time, that stage had a ramp. That if we had won, we were getting on that stage, as opposed to somebody coming over and giving it to us or having us be backstage. We had discussions with the Motion Picture Academy about what true equity looked like. And we said it's really simple, that people with mobility issues have got to be able to travel the exact same path as everybody else. There can't be separate but equal. And they really embraced that. They really heard this. And I heard that they were planning on having ramps, but they redesigned the stage. And there we had this beautiful ramp. And there was air, because we all couldn't be in the same room. There was this beautiful outdoor area where we all kind of were hanging out and drinking and having, well, I wasn't yet, but and that place was all ramped beautifully. I mean, my gosh, it was so. I'm kind of getting off on a tangent here, but I think that we are a leader in many ways, and my God, there's no perfect piece of legislation. As Denise Jacobson says at the end of the film, you can write a law, but until society changes their attitudes, it's not going to be worth a lot. But it is possible, and to not do something like this is really I just want to say is telling about how people really value the lives of other people.
But just a quick follow-up question: when you said like a law is not much worth when the society isn't embracing it or really living up to it, is the other way true as well? Because in Germany we have often the feeling that, yeah, we talk a lot and we try to convince people to to be more sensible about certain stuff, but we don't do laws because we don't want to overburden the economics or what else. So what is your take on that? Can you even say that there's a good approach, or what tips do you have for us?
Well, look, there's plenty of people in this country that don't want our government, doing anything. People, don't want to be taxed, or they don't want the big government, is encroaching on our civil liberties. But I think that it's an incredible tool towards making society a better place. And in reality, if you want to look at economics, what makes more sense? Supporting people to live in society so they can have jobs, so they can pay their taxes, or to keep people locked away in nursing homes, and where it's much more costly to keep them alive. So I mean, obviously I can't speak to German society at all, but I think that it's been necessary for so many things, and to really, push society forward, to really, look at what they're doing. Look, there's costs. There are some really hard costs with making things more wheelchair accessible, let's say. And I think that one of the things that was lacking in the Americans with Disabilities Act was really funding to help businesses make architectural changes to their facilities. But uh, what can I say? People are not gonna, they look upon us as people who need charity, right? First off, so we're gonna expect people to rebuild buildings because they feel sorry for us. No, that's not happening. So, but when they see us as important members of society who've been excluded, when they see us as a force in our society that um, we want to enjoy, that it isn't a one-way street that we enjoy what they give us, but that they enjoy what we give them in society, that we add another color to the rainbow of life. If it was that simple to make a film or write a book or sing a song that would make that happen, you wouldn't need laws. But that just isn't the case. People are stuck in their prejudices. People are stuck in their way of thinking. And damn it, then if any of us are going to take this line down.
What tips would you give younger generations of activists of fighting for the rights of people with disabilities or disabled people? And what can we learn from your past, from your work, from your efforts? And what shouldn't we do, which you have done?
Yeah, don't use me as an example of what to do. I'm the bad example. No, Warren Zevon, who was a wonderful singer-songwriter who I absolutely loved, had a song called "Mr. Bad Example." So you just made me think of that. Look, I think that if you look at history, a lot of it is about people coming together, and it only takes two people to start a club. It's and I think finding your tribe, finding your community is very important. When you have pride in who you are, and like myself, I identify uh, with my disability as my culture, and it doesn't. Hopefully, it doesn't take a lot for you to find other people that you can start talking and start building your own organization. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy, but I truly believe as you get one person, maybe you get a third, and all of a sudden you're starting to really have a group of people who, the sum of the parts, is not as great as the power of everybody together. And so I think that's terribly important. Um, and look, we all don't have to be out in the streets, blocking traffic. There's some of us who are more motivated to do those things, and there's some people for which either they're physically unable or it's just not safe for them to do. And I'm not here saying, by the way, please get on the streets and have civil disobedience. But what I'm saying is we all have a role. We really all have a role. And if you can write something and post it to a Medium or on a board somewhere, or if you see somebody's doing a dance performance, make sure you're spreading it out on social media. And so for me, um, you know I when I went off to college, I helped start a disabled students organization on campus in San Diego. And you see somebody in a wheelchair, you freaking talk to them, right? It's like, hey, who are you? And you'll find people who are like you, who really want to make change. So no one's going to give it to you. You got to go out there and make it.
Inside the community of disabled people, whom are we forgetting? Like there are a lot of people with different disabilities, and we see a lot of wheelchair users. Sometimes we see blind people, but I'm pretty sure that we are forgetting a lot of them within the movement.
Well, I think that what we've been seeing lately is, first off, the umbrella for people with disabilities is very, very wide. But I think that really looking at people who are neurodiverse, people who are autistic with Asperger's, I think it's very, very important that we keep them in mind. People with hidden disabilities, like folks who have diabetes or mental health issues. They're part of our family, and also people with developmental disabilities, people with Down syndrome, people with other people with traumatic brain injury. I think that we have to support each other. We can't just be out for our one disability. And in reality, you know, the lesson of Crip Camp was that when we took over this building, we had support from the gay rights people, from the Black Panthers, because we had also shown up for their events and their rallies. And so, in an idea, first off, disability cuts across all strata of society. So we are, you know, we are already there. But I think that we need to we need to show up for other people. You know, we have to, you know, if there's violence against one group and we can, you know, be at a rally and be seen and even be organized, that is a profound statement. You know, whether we like it or not, often us with visible disabilities, it's a political statement when we just get into the room, when we just show up. So, you know, do what I did. I power washed my wheelchair for the Oscars, and get out there and as best you can.
You know, before we started to talk to you, we had a little script with questions, and one of the first questions was in the beginning, do you feel yourself more as an activist or as a filmmaker? But I have the feeling you somewhat answered that a little bit. But what I just found out that you embrace so much the question of culture of disabled people. I think it's really important for yourself to show that we have to be aware that we have our own culture and community, and that's something that I have the feeling we sometimes lack in Germany, because we're looking around who can support us, which other groups are there we can question for solidarity, or where can we go into. But you nailed it and said we are already everywhere, but maybe we have to show ourselves more that we are in all these different groups. So my last question from me to you is, like, how important is it to have this awareness about like a disability culture, disability community, to be self-aware about what we are?
Well, the way I like to think about myself culturally as somebody who identifies as disabled is that we all have a common experience. We all have experienced discrimination and rejection due to how our bodies differ from a mythical norm. You know, there is no norm. People without disabilities will like to say, "Well, I'm normal." Well, I'm sorry. I'm as, you know, people throughout the world. I think that the number is somewhere around, you know, 25% of the world has a disability of some sort. So you can't tell me that you're normal and I'm not. Disability is a natural part of life, and I think that we've been taught at times to be ashamed or to feel bad about the situation we're in. And, you know, look, this is the way I was born, you know, and I think that for some people without disabilities, they say, "Wow, you're proud? You're proud of this?" Damn right I am. Look at all the beautiful people that I know who are artists, who are accountants, who are teachers, who are educators, who are doing all these different things. And despite the fact that we live in a society that wasn't built for us, they're out there doing it. And I have pride and brotherhood and sisterhood with those that are being kept at home, that are being kept in nursing homes, only because society isn't valuing their lives. And that makes me want to fight. So, you know, yes, I am an activist. I'm an activist filmmaker, and I'm always going to be an artist. and I'm going to bring everything I know about myself through the rest of my career. And I'm going to be working on a lot of scripted projects now, and my goal is that we see people with disabilities in television and in film, and they are there not because the story is about them and their disability, but because they're part of society. They run a restaurant. They're like a teacher. They're part of life. Now, it doesn't mean that they ignore their disability. It just simply means that it's not the reason that they are in the show, and that there needs to be more than one person. And that is where we need to get, because we have seen in entertainment where other groups, marginalized groups, initially we started seeing folks showing up, but it was always about them and their differences. And now for so many other groups, gay people from other countries, trans people, they are rightfully being seen as just part of society and as capable people. So people with disabilities and people without disabilities need to see us being represented realistically and authentically, and stop using actors without disabilities to portray people with disabilities. You're stealing our stories, and if you can't find actors with disabilities, well, then there's the sign that you need to apply the same mentoring programs, the same diversity inclusion programs for people with disabilities that you have had that have been successful for other marginalized communities. And I'm not just talking about the entertainment industry. I'm talking about tech. I'm talking about other fields in which we are more than capable and motivated. I don't know what the numbers are like in your country, but it's clear here that people with disabilities tend to have higher productivity, and they cost less because they tend to stay in their jobs longer than other people. So it's not about morality. It's about doing things that are actually smart and benefits everybody, not just people with disabilities.
Coming back to the entertainment industry, my last question would be, what kind of recommendations of movies or documentaries do you have for our audience to educate ourselves about disability rights or portrayal of people with disabilities in the media?
There's a documentary that I worked on called Unrest, and it's about people who have chronic fatigue syndrome. And this incredible filmmaker, Jen Brea, made this film, and it was I mean, I thought there was a very good look at people with that. It's also, I can't pronounce what the alternative word is. We call it ME, but for me that was really wonderful. I remember years ago I was at another film festival, and there was a film called Beeswax, and one of the actresses, two of the actresses were sisters in real life. One of them was a wheelchair user. She was a paraplegic, and she was, as I kind of mentioned what my ideal is. She was just someone in the world, but they had a beautiful relationship, and her disability was not the center of her life. And for me, that was a real landmark for me. And so it was called Beeswax. Lord knows where it could be found. And the only thing I can say is there's a musical that was made about a year ago that is being released called Best Summer Ever, and it was made by these folks at Zeno Mountain Farms, and that's a filmmaking camp. And they've made another film before called Becoming Bulletproof, but this musical just got a really great review in the New York Times. I don't know where it is in Europe, but it's gonna be released online soon. And it's a blast. It's funny. And it's all created, in conjunction with people with disabilities. I just loved seeing that film. And in regards to political films, there are other ones out there, but I think that what sets ours apart is the fact that it really contains so much of our voice.
It was a unbelievable pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for all your time, and to everybody watching us. Please watch Crip Camp if you haven't right now. I can't even believe why or how you couldn't have seen it right now, but please watch this film.
And
It's
use your educational material, which is already available at the website of the cripcamp.com, which is really amazing. And it's easily translatable to other languages. Just use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Legos Roll. I'm so happy that you invited me to be here with you today, and I wish you all the best and of luck with your event, and I'll be rooting you on from the States.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon again.
I hope so too. Bye.
Bye.